First stage of marinating your chicken is you need to cut it up into chunks. So these chunks need to be a decent size. So if you look about the size of my fork, to make sure that they can be threaded onto a skewer really easily. So I'm cutting along my chicken in a line, and this one I'm going to cut into 3 chunks, approximately the same size. So they are nice and chunky and easy to thread on a skewer. And you make sure you cut up all of your chicken breast so it's approximately the same size across all. There you go, nice, decent chunks, about the size of my fork each time. So to make the marinade for your chicken, you need to finely chop 1 chili pepper first of all. So I'm leaving all of my seeds in. I'm just going to finely, as small as you can, chop up that chili pepper super thin and fine. And as soon as you have finished chopping it, make sure that you wash your hands. That can go into your mixing bowl. To that we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Can be lemon juice as well, depending on whatever you've got at home. Again, you don't have to juice it, you can squeeze it directly in, as long as you know what 2 teaspoons of lime juice look like. Might be enough. One, 2, perfect amount. So half a lime gives you the perfect amount. You also then need to add 1 teaspoon of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and we're going to add 3 tablespoons of yogurt. Give that a really good mix around so that it all combines. Once you've fully combined your marinade, you are ready to add your chicken that you sliced up earlier, and you want to really coat your chicken pieces in the marinade as much as you can, and then you're going to leave them to one side. Make sure they're covered. You can even put it back in the fridge. Make sure it's covered with foil or another plate, and we're going to leave them to marinate until we are ready to cook them later on after we've made the naan bread. So just make sure all of your chicken is covered with the marinade. To make the naan bread, in this bowl I have already added some yogurt, some sugar and some salt, and I have mixed it in, or I'm about mixing it in currently, with the milk. You also need to add some water. Now the temperature of your yogurt and your milk should be room temperature, because the baking soda in your naan bread will react and create more air, become more aerated from warmth or heat. So really important that your yogurt and your milk is room temperature. So get it out of the fridge a few hours before, and then I'm just going to add the water to that. So there was 200 millilitres of water, and mix that together. There you go. Just gently give it a mix. So in this bowl here I have my flour and my baking powder, and I need to add this mixture to the flour and the baking powder. So I've mixed them together first of all, and I've made a well, like a hole in the middle, and then I'm going to start adding in the ingredients. So I'm going to add in the majority. I'm just going to leave a little bit left over. I'm going to make sure all the yogurt is out of there. So make sure the lumps are in there. I'm just going to leave a little bit of the liquid just in case it's too much to the end. And I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to use olive oil into that mixture as well. And then I'm going to mix that together. I'm going to use a rubber spatula. If you don't have one, a wooden spoon or a metal spoon is absolutely fine. I'm just going to gently move that together and turn it into a dough. And if it's still really crumbly, then I'm going to add the rest of my liquid over here. So as I was mixing, I started to add a little bit more of the liquid that I'd left over here, and as you can see, I've made it go far too wet now. So when you are mixing it, make sure you really mix it in well, so it shouldn't look like this. This looks a little bit like cement, it's a bit too wet. So I'm going to actually add some more flour to this, but I just wanted to show you what it shouldn't look like. It should be a much drier dough than this.
Action.
So I've just managed to get my dough much more sticking together. I added a bit more flour. So remember, when you are adding your liquid, your combined yogurt and milk and water and sugar and salt, make sure you leave a little bit in your bowl because you probably won't need all of it. So I've been kneading it for about a minute or two, and it's a bit more sticky than a regular dough. So you should be a little bit stuck to your hands, but not too much. If it's too sticky and it's really sticking to your hands and you can't get it off, one good way is to do this, and the dough will sort of come together and come off your hands. And you can then add a bit more flour to your board, and we're just going to knead it just for a minute or two just to make sure it's fully combined. I'm pushing it away, folding it over, pushing it away, folding it over, and then just sped up. And you want to keep doing that for a minute or two. I was doing it before a minute or two before I started filming, so I'm done. I'm going to put it back in the same bowl I made it. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of oil to the bottom just to make sure that it doesn't stick. So I'm going to spread that around the bottom. I'm going to add my dough in there. I'm going to leave it in there for a little while until it's time for me to use it. The longer you can leave it, the better. So if you're not making your naan bread and marinated chicken, or you're not going to cook it until the evening, then great, let it sit for an hour or two. But around 30-40 minutes would be great as a minimum time. Okay, so my bread has been left for a little while, and now I need to take it out. Nice sticky mess. And I'm just going to gently knead it, just to redistribute any of the air in there, just for a minute or two, and then I'm going to probably do this on my side, it's easier. And then I'm going to divide that dough into 6 balls. Okay, so I'm going to slice it in half first of all. Put this half back in the bowl, I'm not using it, and divide this into 6, into 3 even. So once I've got one and I can shape the pita bread, I'm going to put a tiny bit of oil on my board. I'm going to place the naan bread out, and just with my fingers just push it so it's about a centimetre thick. And you can get it into whatever shape you want till it's about a centimetre thick. Okay, next. I've got this pan on a medium heat, no oil, just a dry pan. It can be a frying pan, but it needs to have a lid that fits. I don't have a frying pan with a lid, so I'm using a saucepan. But if you've got a frying pan, that would work slightly better. Put your naan bread in the bottom, cover it up, leave it for 3 to 4 minutes. After 3 to 4 minutes, if you take off your lid, you should find it has puffed up slightly, and if you turn it over, it's beginning to go a nice golden brown on that side. With the kebabs, I've sliced up some onion and I've sliced up some pepper as well. Entirely up to you if you want to do this or you just want chicken. Then you need to literally thread it onto your skewer, minding your fingers, as this end is quite sharp, and you can put on your vegetables and your chicken nice and tight. And then you can then grill your vegetables either on a barbecue outside if you have one and your parents are happy to help you do that, or you can stick them in the oven, or you can actually fry them. It's entirely up to you how you want to work your chicken skewers. I've decided to fry my kebabs. So as you can see, you've got them all lined up in there, and in a couple of minutes I'm going to turn every single one over, and then a couple of minutes later turn it over again, and a couple of minutes turn it over again, so that all 4 sides of the kebab have been cooked. Again, medium heat. So after around 15 to 20 minutes of rotating your chicken, they should start to look golden brown, and we can now test to see if they're done. So I've taken off one of the skewers with the biggest piece of chicken, and I'm just going to cut into the skewer and check that it is white or pink in the middle. And as you can see, super white in the middle there, you know the rest of your kebabs are cooked. If you're cutting in and you see pink, obviously you need to put it back on for a couple of more minutes and then test again. So on top of your naan bread, or a few naan breads if you want, I've just microwaved 1 tablespoon of butter and I've crushed 2 garlic cloves. Completely optional. I'm just going to brush it over the top because I like my naan to be super garlicky. Add loads of flavour, but entirely optional. You don't have to do this. And then I'm going to layer up with my salad I prepared first of all. And then I'm going to add my skewers of chicken over the top. And there you have your marinated chicken with your homemade naan bread and your salad.